Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday Tea Time for St Andrews Golf Magazine. Tonight is a Ryder Cup Captain's Pick special and I'm joined by Les Bailey from Pro Golf Now. We'll be discussing the European team that was finalised this morning, looking at potential pairings and considering those who just missed out or may have got the selection. And then we'll be looking ahead to tonight's announcement by Tom Watson. We'll look at the 9 players that have qualified so far and then look at the players that could potentially get a pick and perhaps haven't been thought of and maybe in the thinking of Tom Watson, although I'm sure he's made the decision by now. So this morning, Paul McGinley selected Ian Poulter, Lee Westwood, and Scotland's Stephen Gallagher.
Yay!
Yes, congratulations to Scotland. It was a very, very close run thing, and his performance in the Italian Open, really nothing short of sensational, considering he was 14 shots behind the leader after 27 holes and almost on course to miss the cut. He comes back with a back nine of 30 on Friday and then gets it going on Saturday and Sunday. And without the 63 of David Howell, he would have qualified automatically.
Yes. It was. I spent quite a bit of time yesterday watching golf, and he just couldn't get past David Howell, man. David Howell just was too strong for him yesterday, but he played well enough, and I was pretty much of the opinion that vice versa, either him or Graham McDowell would get that pick. Whoever didn't get in on qualification would get that pick, and get that pick. So really, the mystery was just the other 2 picks.
Yeah.
For me.
Well, I mean, he's very much merited his selection over the course of the last 2 years. He's had a couple of wins, a couple of big wins on the European Tour in Dubai. He plays so well in Dubai this year in the company of Rory and Tiger, and he's been very consistent. He's contended in a lot of tournaments and had a lot of top 10s, and then when the pressure was on last week, he delivered. So he
did.
Deserves it.
And he, I think Johnny Miller says it this way: Stephen Gallagher is sneaky long. He's kind of like Jimmy Walker. You don't think much about him, but he can hit the ball pretty good. I mean, I remember watching him in Dubai, and he was playing with Tiger and Rory there in the first 2 rounds, and he was right there driving with the 2 of them.
Yes, and on Saturday when he shot, I think it was 61 or 62. And that golf course is a long golf course at sea level, and he shot a very, very low score on a very good golf course.
Yes.
Pressure situation. So it's a great selection for Scotland. It's going to boost the Ryder Cup at Glen Eagles. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think that was. I was happy to see him get picked. I thought he was an excellent pick.
So the other 2 picks, it came down to 3 into 2, and the form on the world number 1, Luke Donald, missed out, which we'll talk about soon. But Lee Westwood gets his nod for his 9th Ryder Cup. He's won the most Ryder Cups of any player ever in European history, with 6. Obviously, he didn't do it alone, but he's been on 6 winning teams.
Right.
And his form this year, he won very well in Malaysia. He showed some form at the Masters again, but really he hasn't had a great year. But experience, and you can play him in any position in terms of pairings, and you're going to get everything from him. And that experience with the rookies like Donaldson, Dubuisson, and Gallagher will be invaluable, I think.
Yeah, veteran leadership is key in the Ryder Cup, especially when the chips are down. having somebody that's been there and done that before, and Westwood has always had a deficiency in his short game, and if you pair him with somebody that's got a good short game, who knows what's going to happen.
Yes, and him and Luke Donald have a tremendous foursomes partnership over the last 2 or 3 Ryder Cups. So in a way, you could say it's a shame that Donald didn't make it on merit. But then,
well, I thought it was up. Pretty much Ian Poulter You had to take Ian Poulter. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, you
And
have to.
and so it came up to a coin toss between Lee Westwood and Luke Donald, and Luke Donald just isn't playing well right now. I mean, he's not. He's going through a swing change, and they're not playing in Illinois this year. They're actually playing,
Yeah.
Back where he's from in that area, and
Yeah.
of the world, and I think it was Lee Westwood was probably the best pick.
I think so, and obviously, as you said, Ian Poulter had to be on the team. His Ryder Cup record is phenomenal.
Yeah, and he's if anything, he's definitely a spark plug for your team,
Yeah. He's become the new Colin Montgomery in terms of the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
He brings his best golf to the Ryder Cup, and Paul McGinley commented in the press conference about how he single-handedly pulled Europe to within 8 plus, however many points it was, 4 points down on Saturday night, and without that win, Europe would have lost the Ryder Cup. So.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. blah blah blah.
So, I mean, he has to be on the team, but his form is questionable. I mean, he's not won this year. I don't think he's now won since the HSBC champions in 2012. So it's questionable if you were picking on merit outside of the Ryder Cup, whether he would actually be anywhere near the team.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at the players that missed out, Luke Donald, he had a decent year last year, I think. He won last year.
Yeah, but then he went through the swing change. Then he decided to go through the swing changes to get a little more distance, and I think he doesn't quite have that under control yet.
No, I would agree with you, but and then you look at the players that played in the Ryder Cup last time that aren't there this year, like Molinari, Colsaerts, Peter Hansen, Paul Lawrie. All of them really have lost their form in the last year or so, and really didn't come that close. Molinari was the closest to qualify.
Yes. In fact, McGinley said this morning he had to make a call to Molinari because he wasn't going to be taking him, and he wanted to be sure to talk to him first.
Yeah, and I think that's wise because after all, the person that got the winning point was Francesco Molinari.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems to be forgotten.
No, and I think he got that. Didn't he get that against Tiger? Or?
He did, yes.
Yeah.
I think after Tiger possibly given up on that last green.
Yeah.
But he still did it, and he's won the WGC, and he's a very good player because he's a straight player off the tee. His iron play is great, and he will be a great partner for anybody. So there would have been a good reason to bring him to Glen Eagles.
Yeah, but the old saying, he could have got there another way. He could have played his way on the team. And,
for sure, yeah.
And that with that lineup you got, that was a tough nut to crack there. That team.
Well, very definitely.
The starting 9 is pretty tough.
Well, the starting 9 is Rory McIlroy, Justin Rose, Martin Keimer, Graham McDowell. That is 3, 4, 8 major championships. Yes. And then you've got Sergio Garcia, Thomas Bjorn, Victor Dubuisson, Henrik Stenson, and Jamie Donaldson. And they've all had very, very good years. They've all won somewhere around the world, and they're in form. I would say not as much as they were perhaps in the first half of the season, but it's not so long ago when we sat here, and there was a point this year where I gave Europe no chance at all of winning this Ryder Cup, because the young Americans were on fire, and it looked like that team of yours was going to walk all over Europe. But the experienced players have come through and qualified, or they've got a pick. So I'm feeling pretty confident right now, I would say.
Yeah. But remember, on Saturday morning at Medina, Team USA was riding the high wave, and look what happened.
Well, yes, yeah, no doubt about that. So potential partnerships for the European team, and Rory McIlroy could play with anybody really, but he played with McDowell a lot in the last two Ryder Cups, and then that partnership was broken up, and he played with Poulter in that famous match on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And perhaps that is a partnership I would probably start with. You know, the major champion, Ryder Cup hero together. I think it's a solid partnership that could deliver a point. But the team complements each other really well. I think you've got enough experienced players to go with the three rookies, or the two rookies we've got, three rookies. I think he'll be happy with the team he's got.
Oh, he should be. He should be ecstatic with that team.
Well, I think it will be a close run thing. So on to the American team, and at the moment you have Phil Mickelson, Jordan Spieth, Bubba Watson, Patrick Reed, Ricky Fowler, Jim Furyk, Jimmy Walker, Matt Kuchar, and Zach Johnson.
And isn't it strange to say? Isn't it strange to say that the guy that's playing the best golf right now is Jim Furyk?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, he's had a sneaky good year without winning. You know, and that is the big worry, that Sunday singles comes. Does he get a bit nervous, or you know, I mean, or things have just not gone for him. So
I've held for 2 years now that if and don't get me wrong, I love Steve Stricker, but in that Ryder Cup at Medina, if him or Jim Furyk could have made one putt someplace,
yeah,
that counted, the cup would still be here. You know.
Sure, there's no doubt about that.
And Stricker, you know, that was the first time in 3 years that he had lost it at the John Deere Classic, and he just wasn't playing well. I think that's when he made the decision to start cutting his schedule back, because I think by the time he got to the Ryder Cup, he was wore out. He wasn't putting well, and that between him and Furyk, I think if they could have made one putt someplace that counted, it would have been a different story. There would have been no Sunday meltdown.
No, I mean, I prefer to remember it as great golf from Europe.
I'm sure you do.
Most of the matches went to the last 2 or 3 holes. There was there was 1 or 2 real blowouts.
But you know what started the rally was the first match out on Sunday morning. Yeah. That match turned the tide, because I forget who was it was
Luke
playing.
Donald.
It was Luke Donald playing with Bubba Watson.
Yeah.
And he just whooped him like a ugly stepchild, and that had to be the one thing. You know, they went out early, and he was jumping. You know, little hitter Luke Donald was jumping all over the big bomber, and I think that's where it all started. Of course, the putt the night before from Poulter certainly started it, but.
Well, which one? I mean, which one? He helped on the last 6 holes. So, but we won't talk about Europe anymore. But obviously no Tiger Woods, no Jason Duffner,
and no Dustin Johnson.
No Dustin Johnson. All 3 you would expect to have been on the team, but obviously Tiger's had his injury problems. Duffner are the same, and Dustin Johnson's had other problems. You know, so really, none of them deserve to be on the team. So it's a strong 9. I have to say, you've got Zach Johnson, who's a major champion, Jim Furyk, Bubba Watson, Phil Mickelson. You've got more majors than us. That's what 5 for Mickelson, 2 for Watson. So that's 7. So you've got 9 majors in your team.
And an almost from Jordan Spieth, and and on and on.
Well, if you're going to go on about almost, we've got Lee Westwood.
33 almost, huh?
But it's a strong team, and if they click, obviously the weak link is the world number 5, Patrick Reed. Ever since he made that comment, he sort of slid into the abyss, really. But
Yeah, but he's actually been playing fairly well lately. I'm worried about Jordan Spieth. He's not playing well,
No,
and
he's gone quiet since the summer, hasn't he? So,
and Zach Johnson doesn't have the fire he had when he was winning at the Hyundai earlier in the year, and there's I'm not sure we couldn't have used that big stick that Dustin Johnson has.
well, I mean, yeah, Kuchar, he had a superb start to the season, almost winning every week for about 5 weeks, and
Yeah, and then he went cold.
recently he's gone cold, and Ricky Fowler is the guy really that under pressure this year has delivered better than any player on the planet, in fact.
Yeah,
Since
and
Ryder
and
ever
and
made it.
and Jim and Jim Furyk. Those two are the two that are playing well right now, and that have made the team. Uh, and you know, I'm almost thinking Tom Watson has to go with some experience because he's got what he's got 3 rookies in the top 9
Hmm.
with Reed, Spieth, and
Walker.
Jimmy Walker. So I was thinking yesterday, it would have been a romantic pick to take Chris Kirk and because Chris Kirk played well playing along with Roy McIlroy.
Yeah.
He didn't intimidate him one inch,
No.
and I think the missed putt on 18 may have cost him at least a stronger consideration.
Well, I mean, does he go with the experience of Hunter Mahan? Hunter Mahan is a scarred man. He may have won the big tournaments, but the last Ryder Cup he played in, he will always remember that, even though he didn't cost America the Ryder Cup. But that shot, surely the Americans need form players to just go there that got no memory of losing in Europe.
Yeah, and Tom Watson keeps saying that he wants to take people that are smiting from that beating they got at Medina. He wants people that have a fire in their belly about that. And
Well,
I
then
don't see it.
Snedeker, Bradley, Simpson would be the 3 that he would pick, though.
Well, I personally think Bradley's the lock. I think Bradley's going to the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
He's like Gallagher. I think we only have 2 that we have to kind of think about. And Webb Simpson has tried his best the last 2 tournaments to show Watson that he should be on the team. Brant Snedeker, I don't think has got his game right now. His putter is horrible.
Yeah.
He's hitting the ball okay, he just can't putt. And man, the last place you need somebody that can't putt, and just memories of Steve Stricker and Jim Furyk at Medina not being able to putt is a big, that's a big factor, I think.
I think so. But then you look at the first 2 days of that Ryder Cup. America hold everything. There's no reason why they can't just continue that for 3 days. But the course is going to be different. It's obviously nowhere near as old as Medina. It's a lot of changes. It's going to be slightly softer, I would say, being over here in September. So maybe putting won't be such a big factor, really.
Well, I still believe what Sam Snead said. You drive for show and putt for dough, and clutch putting is what got you the Ryder Cup last time.
Without doubt, yeah.
Clutch putting is what the Ryder Cup's all about.
Yeah, I would agree. But so if we look at the outsiders then, and I've just gone down the rankings and listed some players like Harris English, Ryan Moore, Brendan Todd, Kevin Na, Ryan Palmer, who's played pretty well in big events this year, Matt Every, Billy Horschel, and Bill Haas. Would one of those stick out as...
Well, Billy Horschel had a disaster at 18 yesterday.
Yeah.
His demeanor seems to have gotten better. He played himself into, he played himself from 84th position up to 20.
Yeah.
in the FedEx Cup things yesterday, and now maybe we could sneak something on the table and get Jeff Ogilvy, because Ogilvy putting lights out during this tournament, but unfortunately we can't have him, so we have to have somebody else.
Yeah, I'd like Ernie Els and Louis Oosthuizen. No, unfortunately, you can't have Jeff Ogilvy. But really, I mean, it's almost 3 from 5. I would say it's 3 from Mahan, Bradley, Snedeker, Simpson, and Kirk. And if he wants to go with players that are scarred by Medina, have got the hunger, it will be Bradley, Snedeker, or Simpson.
I can't get next. I wrote a blog 2 weeks ago, said that Brandt Snedeker was one of them they couldn't live without, but just the way he's putting is horrible. I agree. Webb Simpson probably is going to make the team, but I think that last pick is a surprise. I think it's going to be Bill Haas. I've heard is high on the list.
Yeah.
I just don't think Snedeker's the man.
It's a difficult decision. I mean, there's no doubt about it. With no Johnson, Duffner, and Woods, it makes Tom Watson's decision even harder, because if those 3 were on the team, you'd be looking at Zach Johnson, Matt Kuchar, Jimmy Walker, maybe Jim Furyk, depending on how the rankings finished. I've not listed them in ranking order, but it will be some of those players that will be outside the top 9, so he would pick them, and it would be simple. But with those 3 unavailable, it does complicate it slightly, and there are a bunch of players that aren't particularly playing great.
Well, just as a thought, he's got 4 people on the team that are not really long off the tee. Jimmy Walker's pretty good off the tee, but Zach Johnson, he won the Hyundai. He won on a big boy golf course with a little bitty swing, but he can't do it every week in and week out. You've got Walker, who's sneaky long. Furyk is not long. Who am I missing out here that isn't long? That's in that bunch.
Kuchar, perhaps.
Kuchar's not really long. So I think you need to add some yardage in these picks. And then Brandt Snedeker, Bradley is definitely a bomber. An interesting pick would be Ryan Palmer. Ryan Palmer's hasn't been able to finish. He's been close quite a few times and just can't play on Sunday very well. So we'd need maybe a little buffer going into Sunday if we were to take Palmer. But he's definitely a pick that I would consider because he plays well. He's got the complete game. He's definitely long off the tee. So, maybe you sit him out on Sunday because he doesn't play well on Sunday. And he's had 4 54-hole leads the last 2 years and hadn't been able to close the door on but one of them.
But it's a different mindset, isn't it? It's a singles game. It doesn't carry over from one day to the other, really, for the player. So I think concerns like that maybe aren't founded, and none of the American players have ever seen this golf course unless they've stayed there during the Open, which would be highly unlikely, I would say.
Well, Tom Watson was trying to get people to go take a look at the course and at least go over and play a couple holes or something, during the Open, and I'm not sure how many of them did. And I'm not 100% sold on Hunter Mahan either making his team.
No, neither am I. I think he's had 2 or 3 good weeks in a year, really, and he I don't know, his short game really does concern me.
Yeah.
And that is vital around that golf course. You do have to have a good short game around there, particularly on 18. If you miss that green, it's so hard to get up and down. So, with the 3 rookies he already has, he's got to go with somebody
in those 3 picks. He needs 3 picks that have been to the Ryder Cup before. So,
Yeah.
Billy Horschel's a romantic. Chris Kirk would be a romantic pick. So would Ryan Palmer. But I'm not sure that he doesn't need to suit up Steve Stricker. Steve isn't a big bomber either, but the guy's got one. He's like Luke Donald. He's got a heck of a short game, and he can putt when he needs to. One of the better putters on the tour.
Yep. Or he may even pick himself.
Yeah. That is not a bad choice, man. Let me tell you.
Well, no, I hope he doesn't.
Yeah. Is there anybody on the planet that has more big wins in than in the United Kingdom than Tom Watson?
Well, no. There isn't. So, no, it's not going to happen, obviously.
No.
But it'll be interesting to see. I think, as you said, I think there may be one surprise, unless it's one big charade from Tiger Woods. Unless he comes out this evening like Superman, comes out of a phone box and wearing his red shirt and.
Who, Tiger Woods?
Yeah, and perhaps he's just been fooling us.
Nah, I think he made a phone call to Tom and said, "Hey, take me off the consideration list." If he would have stuck with not saying anything, you had to take him. Whether he can play or not, you got to take him.
I read this article for our Ryder Cup site, and the first one it was, and I said that he's done the right thing, because had he not said anything, can you imagine what we talk about tonight? The speculation would be.
I was joking with somebody in one of the writers on my team that we had some really good golf going last week, and everybody was talking about Tiger Woods changing swing coaches.
Yeah.
That was what was driving the golf news over here. And I've had people on my Facebook page say, "Yeah, no Tiger, I'm not watching a Ryder Cup. We're starting a professional football season starting up here this week, and college football started last week, and you ain't gonna get nobody to watch a Ryder Cup because they're gonna have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch it if they want to watch it live." So, just the diehard golf fans.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, the first 2 days, the tee time for America would be like 2 a.m. But the final day, the first tee time's 11, I think, and so that's 6 a.m. your time. People get up to watch the Open, so no, I don't have any time for people that don't watch golf if Tiger's not playing.
That's one of the social media sites that I belong to is FanCred.
Yeah.
And FanCred has a golf tag and a NASCAR tag, and I've seen 3 or 4 remarks on there already that no Tiger, no watchy. Got too much football going on, and basketball's cranking up pretty soon, and hockey will start. It's just too much for people to watch right now. And if Tiger drives the market here. Rory is starting to pick up some momentum.
Yeah.
Far as being the man. Somebody was saying on the broadcast, I think it was on Saturday or Sunday, that his golf bag was sitting out in front of the hotel, and it had a whole crowd of people around his golf bag, just looking at his golf bag. Because it said Rory McIlroy, with the big Nike swoosh on it.
Yeah.
And so he's starting to generate he's starting to be the man. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's achievement, isn't it? The guy's on the verge of a career Grand Slam, as is Phil Mickelson, and as we've already said, next year is going to be simply amazing. And once you achieve that level of golf, you cannot be ignored by whoever, and because of the Nike thing. He's so prominent. All his other sponsors as well, Amiga and other people like that. So he's prominent.
And as badly as he was playing, he didn't play badly this weekend. He finished in second place. a tie for second. And he just had a laissez-faire. His driver wasn't working, and if his driver isn't working, he isn't really particularly playing well.
Yeah.
But on that, just to garner a little bit of attention on that last hole, he bombed one. It was the longest drive of the tournament, 347 yards, 346, and he's in there close enough that if he'd have made the eagle putt, he'd have been making Chris Kirk think about that last shot. and we see what happened to Billy Horschel, and Hanley. He's just he's what Billy Horschel was 6 months ago. He gets moving too fast and gets ahead of himself, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Two pretty evenly matched sides, you have to say. If you look at the first nines, and then it really does depend on the picks. But at the moment, you possibly give the edge to Europe, but very, very marginally. I don't think it's very close.
A month ago, the way everybody was playing on your team a month ago, I would have said, we shouldn't even go over there. But a couple of your guys, Justin Rose has slowed down. Stenson hasn't been right all year. And Keimer kind of woke up this week. So maybe he's coming back,
Well, I saw an interview with him after his round yesterday, and it was very interesting how he doesn't particularly like the hectic nature of being at the top of the game and staying in hotel rooms for 7 straight weeks. Things like that, which is a big thing when you're one of the top players in the world. But if he, say, had another 2 years off and then came back and won 2 majors or whatever, it's still a great career, isn't it? So,
well, Stenson, Stenson's the same way. He was yesterday when they were interviewing him. He was more concerned about getting his flight to how he was going to get to Denver. Was he going through Orlando, or was he going to go directly to Denver? Yeah. And I might bring up. In fact, I just wrote a post about this about 2 hours ago. The altitude in Denver is 6,500 feet above sea level. It's a mile. 5,280 feet is right around 6,000 feet.
Yeah.
Wonder what those drives of Rory's going to look like there at Cherry Hills.
Yeah. My goodness. Well, if you add 10%, because that's what it is, isn't it? 10%. So he hits a 340-yard drive down at sea level. So you are talking 375 yards.
Yeah, and on a real bomber like he hit on 18 yesterday, maybe close to 400. And what was funny today is Hunter Mahan was trying to accomplish the feat that Arnie pulled off in 1960 at Cherry Hills, at number 1 there, and drove the green. And everybody kept reminding him that Arnie had a persimmon club and probably a golf ball that was like a rock. They had rocks back in 1960. They didn't have golf balls.
So yeah, well, that is certainly a great golf course and another great week on the PGA Tour coming up. But tonight, obviously, Ryder Cup and getting ever closer to Tom Watson's announcement. The coverage is on Golf Channel. Starts in about 28 minutes, I think it is.
Yeah.
So, and the announcement is around 7 p.m. your time, midnight here. I will be up watching and writing about it. So it will be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I've got the wife on hold for dinner because of the Ryder Cup picks.
My goodness. Oh dear. So I think it could be any one of 5 players, and I think my selections would be Keegan Bradley, Brandt Snedeker, and Webb Simpson, just because of that Medina factor.
I am going to go. So you heard this first from me. I'm going with Keegan Bradley, Bill Haas, and Steve Stricker.
Oh. Oh my goodness!
You got to have Steve Stricker on this team. You
And
need some veteran.
Tiger as vice captain.
Yes, replace his vice captain. And he'll be directing traffic from his Jupiter, Florida home. He'll be on the walkie-talkie with Tom.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So, well, that's interesting. It's two players that you wouldn't necessarily expect to be picked or on form or just obviously the fact that Stricker's a vice captain, that would be a surprise. But you never know. Tom Watson could spring a surprise. So
yeah, he definitely needs that veteran leadership on the team, and that I think Steve is probably playing as well as the other two that you talked about of the three.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, it's been another great, entertaining conversation this week, and the Ryder Cup is coming fast at us. We have the Tour Championship, which is preceded by the BMW Championship to come. This week is the European Masters in Switzerland on the European Tour. We're getting very close to Glen Eagles. It's getting very exciting here, and really we're all looking forward to it. And what happens this evening will shape it because we'll have both teams ready to go. So, but from myself and from Les, it's good evening, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, we locked up.